Hello, Merry Christmas. It's Gemma Crow here. I'm going to give you a free tutorial for Christmas. There's not much more Christmassy than a red robin, so that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to show you how to create this little wire red robin that you can use as earrings, or in this case I've got him on a pendant. I thought that would be a lovely little Christmas present from me to you, and hope you enjoy making him. Okay, so here he is, our little robin. He's a very simple construction. It's made up of one wire that we bend in various ways backwards and forwards to create this lovely little shape. He's very cute. You can make him as fat or as thin as you like. We're going to go for a fat belly today. Here I've used some Swarovski bicones in his tummy, but actually I think he might be better with a red bead. So I've got a variety of sizes here, and we'll see which one works best in his belly as we go, and then you can configure him however you like. You can also weave this with red wire rather than use beads. It's really up to you, but we'll see. He also has some little black eyes, and I'm going to use some little sparkly black spinel for his eyes in this demonstration. We're going to use a 1mm wire, and we're going to use a 0.4mm wire. Before we start, I'm just going to show you what he looks like in his basic form. So this is the wire frame that we're going to create. I've used about 30 centimeters of 1mm wire to create him, to create this little shape. Okay, so that's where we're going. It might help when you start to kind of see the process. So I'll talk you through. You've got his belly. We start with his belly. We come up, we make his beak, make his little head down into the tail, then up and round in to create his wing. So that's where we're going with this. Okay, let's do it together. So I have got around 35-40 centimeters of 1mm wire. I'm going to find the center, so I'm just going to put the ends together and pull to find the center. Once I find that, I'm going to create a sharp bend. Well, I'm going to double them back, double the wires on themselves, so I'm working with 2 lengths of wire. So double them back, give them a pinch in, not too tight, but just get that end close. Don't over pinch. We don't want them completely together or unable to pull apart. We don't want to make it brittle. Okay, so just pinch it like that so that it's doubled up. And then we're going to make his belly. So we're going to create it flat, and then we'll put the 3D definition in later. So for his belly, you can use a bail making plier or anything round really to push around. So I'm just going to grab the very tip that we bent there and roll it round my pliers to make a little shape like this. Okay, so I, just in case you want to use the same tools as me, I've got this large 3-step bail maker, and I've used the smallest one on there, which is about let's have a look what the diameter is so that you can follow along with something else. It's like a marker pen. It's 15 millimeters, so it's a 15mm diameter across there to give us that little shape there. Okay, so then just beyond where it would be a U, so just beyond the semicircle, I'm going to grab a hold of the wires with either chain nose or flat nose pliers. Grab a hold of the wires just there, so just go just up above that semicircle like that, and then take your finger and push against the pliers. We're going to form the beak. Okay, so just against the pliers like so, and then pop your pliers back in just on that bend. Okay, and then we're going to bring the wires back. Okay, this time we really want a really tight bend there. Okay, so make sure those wires are together. Once you've got that bend, we're then going to use our pliers to pinch that together. Now you might find that the wires slip around a bit here, but just persevere, get those pinched together as much as you can, nice tight pinch like that. Okay, and then holding them in the pliers, pull that up, pull the wire up on your thumb and just bend the wires against your thumb there to create his little forehead. So you can use your fingers here to do this, but we want to try and make sure that our wires stay together as much as they can. You see, we've already got a little, what looks like a little robin already. Okay, so there's his shape. Now I'm going to use my flat nose pliers. I'm going to come down just a bit further along here just to decide the length of his tail. I don't want his tail too long. Robins have got quite short little tails. So holding the wires, again both wires together, I want you to push with your finger against the pliers nice and firmly to get a nice sharp bend. Okay, and now we're going to take hold of the two wires again together and then pop your pliers onto that tail bend. And now what we need to do is we're going to bring the tail up now, but this time we need to take these either wire either side of the robin. So this is one side of the robin and the underside is the other. So when we bring the wires now, we want to make sure that that bottom wire there, when we pull it, so pull it nice and firmly against your pliers, comes up onto that side of the robin. Okay, and the other one do the same, so get your pliers back in, make sure they're nice and all level, and then pull the wire against the pliers to create his tail. Okay, so if we take our pliers out now, you can see, turn it over, you can see you've got the wires either side of the robin now. Okay, like that. And then it's kind of important to try and keep it symmetrical if you can, but it's not the end of the world if you don't, because actually you're only going to look at the robin one side at a time. So what I'm going to do now is curve this wire back round on itself. If we look here, you can see this tail wire comes up and forms the bottom and top part of the wing. Okay, so if you can follow that round, let me put my finger inside so you can see where we're going. You see how that wire comes up and round into a point, and then we spiral the rest into place. Okay, there's where we're going. So I'm going to come back to our robin. I'm going to use my thumb here to curve, so you can see I'm putting my thumb into there and I'm pulling that wire around. Now if you're not feeling confident to do that, then you can always get a mandrel to go in there. So you can use a mandrel, you can use a pen or a pencil. Just pop your pencil into place and use that to pull around, and then you can do the same both sides then as well. Okay, so that can give you a good, if you're worried about getting it even, then you can do it like that. I find I try and get tools in here, it's such a small space, it can they can get in the way, but I also understand that it can be tricky to get them the same. Okay, so I find my thumb acts as a good stopper. Okay, so there we go, we've got the start of two wings. Right, and now I'm going to create the sort of pointy end of the wing just here. So I'm going to take my chain nose or flat nose pliers just into there like that, and then pull that against it, nice sharp, so pushing with my thumb against the bend there. Okay, like that. And then the same the other side. So pop your pliers in, give it a pinch, hold it nice and tight, and then push against there. Okay, so you've got a wing each side. Now at this point we can see that we don't need this much wire to create the little spiral, otherwise we're going to completely fill that space with a spiral, which, you know, might actually be quite nice, but it's not what I was intending. So I'm just going to trim some of this off. So really from where it passes the robin's head, so where the wire sticks out, come along about 1.5 inches, so 3 centimeters or so from the robin's head, and trim the wires both off at the same time. Now, if you are making earrings, I would suggest that you do this, you do the other one at the same time before you go any further, because then you can make sure that your shapes are the same size and everything's the same. But if you're using mandrels, then that really does help to stay on track with sizes, etc. Okay, now I'm going to use my round nose pliers to pop a spiral onto the wire and tuck it inside the wing. Okay, so tip of the wire onto the tip of the into the tip of the pliers, push with your finger against the pliers and turn the pliers over in your finger. Okay, and you've got a loop started. Once you've got the loop started, you can then put your pliers back in and continue to spiral. Now keep an eye on it to make sure that the spiral is nice and tight and round and not going pointy. Okay, and then we'll just spiral that in to sit in the wing. So I've gone as far as I can with my pliers now, so with my round nose pliers. So now I'm going to take my flat nose or chain nose pliers, hold across the spiral and turn into the wing. Okay, keep going until it sits inside that wing that you've created. Okay, there we go. It's a bit more of a spiral on this one, but that's quite nice. Right, so that's there, and then we do the same on the other side. Tip of the pliers onto the tip of the wire. Create a lovely spiral to start with. Okay, and then you've got so far, and your pliers can't, you know, they're in the way. You get so far and your pliers are in the way, so you have to then switch over to your flat nose pliers and hold across the spiral and turn the wire, or turn your wrist, whichever you find easiest, in so that it sits into the wing like that. Okay, so there's our little robin frame. You can play with his wings and pinch them in different ways to get them to sit how you want. Okay, let's turn this little loop a bit. This little spiral's poking out a little bit. Okay, there we go. Now, before we start pulling him into shape and opening out his belly to make him 3D, I mean, he's quite cute just like that, isn't he? But we want to stitch him together. So we're going to use 0.4 wire. I would say use around 1 meter. That should be plenty to do the work you need to do, and have enough to sort of not be, you know, trying to work with tiny pieces of wire, because that can be frustrating. So we're going to stitch him together. So I'm going to start at his beak, because that's where we really need him to be nice and secure there, because if we can get that beak together, then the rest of him will stay in place. Okay, so along that wire, come in around, leave around 15 centimeters of wire at the tail, and just wrap a couple of times around his beak. Now this bit's tricky because obviously it's a tiny little space. Okay. Pop him in. And go once around his beak, and that should hold him enough. And then we're going to go across the top of his head, so we need to just post the wire through the frame there, so that we can start wrapping up along his forehead. Okay, so bring the wire through, and we'll bind his forehead together just above his beak. Doesn't sound very nice, does it? But it's all for his benefit. Okay, so we've got a couple of wraps there in on his forehead, and we'll do the same with that 15 centimeters of wire that you've got from his beak. We're going to do the same but onto his chest, onto his belly. Okay, so just wrap into the frame, through the frame and through his belly. So taking the wire through his belly and a couple of stitches there. Ooh. Okay, so we've got a few stitches on either side. Let's see if I can get that. Focus this in. We'll use the can we see that there? A couple of stitches on his forehead, a couple of stitches on his belly. Okay, that's held him nice and securely together. Right, now once we've got that, we can start giving him a bit of depth and definition. So now we've got those, the head, the beak. We're just going to pop our fingernail in between the two edge sides. If you've got any fingernails, mine keep breaking. Okay, and we're just going to splay it apart. So splay his head like that. Okay. He's not gonna stay completely splayed, but we just need a bit of a gap there, just so that he gets a little bit of 3D form. Okay, and now with our 0.4 wire, we're going to start weaving up along his forehead and then down to his tail. Okay, and we're just going to keep, so we're going to gently widen out to the widest point just at the top of his forehead, and then we're going to narrow back down as we go to his tail, but it's better to keep it wide like this and then change as you go. So the weave that we're going to do here is you go all the way around one side and then up through the frame the other side and all the way around it, and then back through. Now as we go in here as well, we're going to try and put his eyes in at the same time so we don't have to add wire, so we don't want to go too far around. So then we're going to come underneath the next wire. We're not going to do a figure of 8, we want to do a nice straight weave across the top of his head. Okay, so around the other side and over the top, so straight across, straight over like that, then around, all the way around and under, so under that side, under both sides. And then all the way around that side and straight over the top. Okay, so now we're at the point where we probably need to add an eye in, because that's about where we want his eyes. So I'm just going to go over here, and now I'm going to add an eye. Okay, and the eye is going to pull that wing up to sit there as well, so that'll secure the wings at the same time. So what we're going to do is take a little black spinel, cut these off my, now the trick with these is finding the hole because they're so sparkly. So little black spinel onto my 0.4 thread, pop it in place. You see he comes to life as soon as you put an eye in, doesn't he? Put a little eye in there, and then we're just going to take that wire underneath this loop for the wing here. Okay, so put the wire up through there, So it can be a bit tricky because the wire is obviously all one wire, so it's a bit of a spiral, so if it slips out you kind of think, well, where's that coming from? There you go. So that's where it needs to go, hooking onto that spiral there, and we're just going to pull it nice and tight so it cinches it in. Okay, and then we can take the wire back up to his head and to the other side. We're going to try and get the back through, so we can go through like that, and then to the other wing, so that it can then come back to the forehead. Okay. So another little spinel. Now if you want to do all your weaving and then add the eyes in after, that's fine, because you know it is kind of easy to hide your wires in this design because of the weaving, so it's not too bad. This little eye. There you go, pop his eye there. And then we can carry on weaving this section. So just going to wrap that around the top of his forehead to hold it in place securely, and then carry on weaving. So across the top, under, all the way around. If you wanted to make this finer, you could go with a 0.25 wire, and then you'd have a really fine weave across the top. But we just keep going over, under, over, under. So just always remember though to wrap around the frame wire, otherwise it won't stay put, it will just move around. So always wrap once around the frame wire before returning to the other side. So underneath, wrap all the way around, and then over the top. Okay, and keep going. Weave all the way along. Well, it gets a bit trickier now towards the end because you've got a small space to work in, but just you should have a shorter length of wire by now as well, so it's easier just to thread it through a bit like you're sewing now. So take it round, and remember to do this in stages, so really pull your wire through and then sort of start it going round and then post it through. It will make it easier and keep the tension better, because when you're pulling it through like this, the tendency is for the wire to kink, and then before you know it, you've got a loose section, and it sort of throws everything off. So bring the wire around, make sure that you're getting any kinks out as you go, because it will have a tendency to kink at this stage as well, because it's shorter, it's more tricky to work with, it's in a tight space in here. But just thread it through, take your time, you're almost at the end. Okay, and then just get as many wraps in as you can really until you reach the end of the tail. I think I've got another one or two I can fit in here. Okay, one more. Don't worry what the rest of the design's doing either, just worry about this section across the top. The rest of it we can reshape and put back into place after. So I think that's it now. I can't get any more wraps in, so just this will be the last one. And pull it nice and tight. Okay. So as it's the last one, I'm just going to wrap this around the frame one more time before I cut it off. So wrap one more time around that frame, and then we can nip off that excess wire inside somewhere. Make sure there's nothing sticking out. Lovely. And then if there is any extra bits, just give it a pinch to hold it. Okay, so there is the top of our robin woven in. He looks quite nice just like that. You could leave him there if you wanted to, but the plan in this project is to give him a belly. So I've got a choice of beads in here. That one might be a bit big. That one's a bit pink, but we might use that one just for the sake of it. Or I could make him quite classy and put a garnet in there, but it's quite a dark garnet. We'll see what looks best. But basically, this center now is belly. We're going to open it up, okay? And make sure that your stitches under the chin are still in before you do this. But get your thumbnail in there, or anything you've got to just open it up. So put your thumb in, and we're going to open up like a book, like we might need. I can put the pliers, flat nose pliers in to prise it open if need be. Prise open his belly. That sounds awful, but that's what we're doing. There we go. Got a little belly there. And then let's see if that one goes in. Might be a bit big. Yeah, that's a bit big. Let's see if we can pop this one in. Yeah. See that one? That bead sits in quite nicely. Fits in there. That works okay. And then we want to obviously bring these out so that his eyes have just gone in a little bit. So we're going to just use the pliers to just pull this, reshape his wings so that they're sitting outside. Just use your fingers or tools, whatever you can, to get in to manipulate that shape. There we go. The bead sits in. So now we know the bead fits in there. He's got his little eyes. He's looking quite cute, isn't he? So we want to make sure that that bead is secure. So what I would suggest is you use the rest of that 0.4 wire that you've got from under his chin. Okay, and then swivel the bead round till you find the hole. Take that through, and we'll just take that through the bead. Oh. Take it through the bead. Pull it in, that'll secure it in place. Okay, and then the end of the wire we can wrap around to secure it at the other end. So we just get that out of there. So we can either take it up through the weave on his back and hide it in there, or if you want to, you can wrap it around the frame of his belly, but it might be a bit fiddly. So what I would suggest is bringing that wire up through his back, where it sort of seems the right point to do it, wherever that wire intersects. Pull it up through, and then just pop another few wraps in there and hide it away. So we'll do the same sort of weave that we did up his back. So take it underneath, try not to cross the wires over, so let the wire sort of nestle in along that weave, it's sort of hidden away, and take it over the top here, and again nestle it in between the weave. So it's just like having an extra stitch in there. Okay, put that there, pull it through nice and tight. Okay, and then you can just trim that off. I'm going to trim it at the top, and I'm going to tuck it in. So I'm going to just push that wire with my thumb or pliers down inside. I mean, you're not going to be able to see that. And there we go. You've got a little robin redbreast. I mean, he's got a very red breast now, hasn't he? You can use any gemstone you want in there. And maybe if you made his tail more longer and elegant, and his wings up slightly, and used a pearl in there, it might look like a dove. So you can change the shape just by changing a few of the little details. But there you go. There is a little Christmas robin for you to wear as you please, or hang on the tree maybe. There you go. It's very, very cute. Show you his little friend. So this one's slightly tinier. Again, I suppose you can change the size however you want as well. You can change the size up as much as you like. But I think they will be great friends this Christmas. There you go. There, they can have little kiss. I hope you enjoyed that little Christmas tutorial, and if you do, have a go at making one of your own little robins, whether it's for earrings or a necklace or tree decoration or a gift tag or whatever, a key ring maybe, whatever you make it for. I'd love to see it, and I'd love to see how you got on and what materials you used and how you diversified it. It's all great to see. So if you pop over to Crow's Mojo on Facebook, it's a group where students can share their work, get feedback, and also some advice if necessary. So pop your makes in there. Have a lovely, lovely Christmas, and I'll see you all in the new year. Bye.